The Autoworld Car Museum has been established in Brussels since 1986. E-Reporter's Brussels in View paid a visit to see the wonderful cars. Eric Janssen, you are the head of Museology here at this quite amazing automobile museum by the name of Autoworld in Brussels. Can you tell us a little bit about your job and the history of the place, please?
Yes, well, we are here in the National Car Museum of Brussels. We have a collection of more than 250 vehicles, cars, motorcycles and a few trucks. And the building has been built in 1880. At the beginning of the 20th century, this building and the building in front, which is now the Airplane Museum, has been used for the annual motor show in Brussels, and this was going on until the 30s when it moved to the Heysel. The museum has opened in 1986, so we will celebrate our 30th anniversary next year, because 30 years ago, or nearly 30 years ago, we were looking for a place to expose and to hide, but not to hide, to keep the collection of a automobile family in Belgium, the May family from Ghent. And they are still the owners of approximately 80% of the cars being here on display. The other 20% comes from private owners, private collections. So, answering your second question, my job is in fact to keep an eye on the collection, that's one thing, to change vehicles where needed or where required, and I'm also in charge for the exhibitions, because to attract people we need to do something new, and we decided 4 years ago to organize every month temporary exhibitions, smaller ones and bigger ones. Smaller ones will say with 8 to 10 cars, like now with Audi Quattro, big exhibitions with 40-45 vehicles on the mezzanine floor on the first floor.
When did your own passion for cars begin, Eric?
I should say 55 years ago, because I came from a family where many people, my father, my grandfather, were in the car or transport business, and I've been working for 40 years in the automotive industry in Belgium. So I've been very lucky to always to be able to combine job and passion and hobby. And when I retired, they asked me if I would be interested a couple of days a week to have a look at the car collection here at Brussels, which I do appreciate and like very much.
Strikes me, as a complete car novice myself, that in a museum such as this one, everywhere you turn there is history, and I believe that just behind you there's a very striking Belgian car exhibition. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, well, as you probably know, Belgium has one of the leading countries before the First World War in producing cars. That's the reason why we have a quite unique exhibition of Belgian cars, which means cars being built and produced in Belgium. And 2 or 3 names I think are really famous all over the place, which like Minerva was the competitor for Rolls-Royce, Bentley and other exclusive cars. But we also have FN. FN, most of the people know because it's industry for weapons, still existing, but they stopped producing or manufacturing cars and trucks in the 50s. And the third brand name being very important, and it was the last one to survive, is Imperia. Imperia stopped at the end of the 50s to produce cars, but there is now a project with a new investor, and the car has been launched at the Brussels Motor Show 2 weeks ago with a battery-powered and electric car having the same name, Imperia.
A rather, perhaps, silly question to finish, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you, do you have a favourite car?
Favorite car is difficult, because all depends on the period, on the type of car. If I would say one favorite, maybe the green Minerva, which is at the entrance of the museum, because that's in fact the icon of the museum. It's a brilliant car, it's a nice car, it's in very good shape. But personally, because of my generation, my favorites are more in the 60s, Jaguar E-Type, Porsche 911 and things like that.
Eric, We're talking Bond, but not quite Bond, as far as I understand. This is an Aston Martin DB6, which isn't quite the DB5, but I understand there's a very interesting story behind this one.
Yeah, it's an interesting car. As you said yourself, the first Bond car was the DB5, and we had one during our exhibition in during Christmas holidays. But this is a DB6 in its original condition because the owner is still driving the car on a daily basis. It's not the real Bond car, but it looks quite similar to the Bond car. But we are quite happy to have it for a couple of months here in Autoworld.
I don't suppose anybody would raise any eyebrows if I turned up in that and said I was James Bond. I think I'd buy. What do you think?
Maybe yes.